to the extension of political democracy. I would choose the following words of Jefferson to respond to Huntington and anyone else who argues for limits on democracy. I have so much confidence in the good sense of man and his qualification for self-government that I am never afraid of the issue where reason is left free to exert her force. This fight for democracy is truly an ongoing one, has been for over 200 years, and will probably be so as long as our country is standing. Democracy is very tough. It demands a lot of its people. It demands participation. But let me express my gratitude that the spirit of Jefferson is alive and well here in Troy, New York at RPI, and thank you for the opportunity to speak out in favor of the civic virtue of dissent. Thank you.
Thank you so much. That's a great start. We've talked around here about the importance of scientific literacy, and obviously it's just as important to make sure that everyone's has a high level of democratic and civic literacy as well. Okay, then now we'll have 10 minutes of open discussion. You can ask Sue questions, or you can stand up and make comments of your own. And I'm going to be keeping the clock. So we have the microphone working now. You can either come up here or try to speak loudly from your seat. I'd like to go first.
Where's Paul?
Yes.
Just to get the ball rolling, I was very interested in your quotation of Jefferson on the power of reason. And of course, that is highly susceptible to shaping by various outlets in popular culture. And I recommend to everybody Al Gore's latest book, which is Against Reason, which suggests a profound danger in this country now because of the domination of people's minds and imaginations by television, which conveys what he calls the big lie. So if we juxtapose Jefferson with Al Gore and mull over how we can strengthen our reason against our corrupted emotions.
Yeah, he will be one of the early people in this country to call for support of freedom in both science and philosophy, based on that idea of the supremacy of reason. Absolutely. Yes?
The quote you had earlier, 1975, if I recall, that was during the Nixon administration.
Yes, it was.
And can you give us some more idea of, I don't recall quite all that much, but I do remember that Nixon was one of the more hostile to dissent.
Well, that's, yes, one of the notable, I use it in terms of how often it's discussed, hallmarks of the Nixon administration will be his desire, for example, to practice something called prior restraint on freedom of the press. He tries to get the Supreme Court to agree that the New York Times, the newspapers can be, that they can be censored before they go to press. And that's known as prior restraint. And because of the Pentagon Papers, which he felt were a threat to national security being published. And the Supreme Court will tell him no, that you cannot engage in prior restraint. Once things are published, if they're a lie, if they're liable, if they're scandalous, then you can take action. But you don't want to step into, you don't want to violate the First Amendment right to freedom of press by wading into the waters of prior restraint. So that's one example of, from that particular administration's concern about censorship. Absolutely. Oh, I'm sorry. Yes, I could. Absolutely.